If you are at all interested in going to college, whether you are a senior in high school or you graduated high school 10 years ago, whether you want to go to a four-year university, you want to go to a community college, trade school, or vocational school, this is the episode for you. So stay tuned until after the music. Welcome to the Lazenby Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Lazenby, and I'm here to help you along your journey to your success. I will do this by sharing my experiences, as well as give tips and tricks I've learned through my current journey to receive my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. Throughout this season, I'll be covering topics including myths about college, transfer advice, networking, and much more. So get your pen and paper ready as we dive into each episode to take in something that gets you closer to your success. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Lazenby Experience Podcast. Yes, I did say Season 2, which means there is a Season 1 available on anywhere you like to listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, including Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, all those platforms. My podcast, the Lazenby Experience Podcast, is available. I do want to say one thing about Season 1, Episode 1. It's only available on YouTube because it is a more visual type of episode. So please go to YouTube if you want to watch Season 1, Episode 1 of the Lazenby Experience Podcast. Other than that, every episode, including this one, will be available on any platform that you like to listen to your podcast. So, Season 2, Episode 1, we will be talking about myths about going to college. Now, for those who are already graduated college or not interested in going to college, even though this episode might not be for you or you might not be interested in this topic, rest assured, other episodes will not be just about going to college or college topics. So please continue to stay tuned for other episodes as well. But let's get into Season 2, Episode 1, myths about going to college. Now, I found these 10 myths I'm going to be talking about with different articles that I found online. I found the myths, but my discussion, my experience is what I'm going to be using to talk about the myths. These are what I know. These are things that I've been through, but I did get some help on the different myths that I want to talk about today. And I do want to let you guys know what articles I found online to find these different myths. Those include 25 common myths about college, 10 completely false myths, 10 completely false college myths, 10 common myths about college, 5 myths about the college search, college myths, facts, fictions, and funnies, 10 misconceptions about school and college education, and 4 myths about college education that make you think you need it. So those are the articles that I found, my 10 myths I'm going to be talking about today. As you can see, some of these articles have more than 10 or 10 myths themselves. So that means you can go to those articles and you can find even more myths about college to help you decide on whether you want to go or if you should go. So let's get into this episode. Again, before we get even started with the myths, I do want to do a short story time. So when I first started my journey, or right after I graduated high school, which was so long ago, I actually wanted to get out of my mother's house as soon as I can. Now, let me first say I love my mother. Oh, I love my parents, but I love my mother, who I live with. I love my siblings, who I also lived with. But we lived in a house with I lived in a house with 4 other siblings and my mother, which you can probably tell just by how many people in the house. It can be stressful and it can be a lot going on. So being able to get away from all of that and be on my own. I really wanted to do that. But I feel like as I am going through my college journey and as I have experienced the different things I have experienced, I kind of think I probably should have went to community college first. I should have went to the local community college, got my associate's degree, and then went on to get my bachelor's degree. I end up eventually getting my associate's degree, which I'll probably be talking about in a later episode. But I went to a 4-year university, Northern Illinois University. I went there for a few years. I ended up taking a year off. After that year off, I ended up going to community college, which was close to Northern Illinois University, called Kishwaukee College. I went there, got my associate's degree, and then I am now at my current school, Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, or IUPUI, or UWI PUI. And I am working towards my bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. Now, I probably could have avoided a lot of the things that I'm going through right now if I would have probably started off at a community college, but that's neither here or there. But I do want to say, I hope my story can possibly help you with deciding to either go to community college first or taking some time off of school before you decide to go to a 4-year university. So let's get started with myth number 1, which is I'll never be able to afford to go to college. Now, going to college, as a lot of us already know, is an expensive thing. It costs tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on what you're going to school for, what school you're going to, how many years you're in school, and all that kind of thing. But there are ways to help lower that cost or even take away that cost of going to college. Those ways include FAFSA, scholarships, grants, work study, which is a part of FAFSA. And I say this one last on purpose because this should be the last resort when looking for money to go to school, which are loans. I will be talking about FAFSA in the next myth, so you will, if you don't know what FAFSA is, I will talk more about what that is. But the secret to being able to afford to go to college is starting to look for money early and continuing to look while you're still in college. Just because you're in college doesn't mean your journey of finding money for your education ends. That continues until you graduate. Once you graduate, it's harder to find free money, I should say, to go to college. After that, you really have to pay for like the loans that you've taken out based like with your own money. So while you're thinking about going to college, while you're still in college, please continue looking for money. Please continue looking for scholarships, which is free money, so you can lower the cost for you to afford to go to college. And then the other thing is you don't have to go to an expensive college. I know I talked about college is more expensive now than it probably has ever been, but that doesn't mean you have to go to the most expensive college or university in order to get a good education and a return on your investment, which is the point of going to college, is to be able to learn a skill that can eventually help you make more money than you would if you didn't go to that university. So just because you want to go to a university doesn't mean it has to be really expensive, and it doesn't mean it has to completely be loans or come out your own pocket. So let's move on to myth number 2. Only students' families who have high financial need should submit FAFSA. So before I explain why this is a myth, I do want to talk a little bit about what FAFSA is. I should have looked up what the acronym stands for, but it's FAFSA. FAFSA, which is a government application for anybody who plans on getting a higher education at a community college at a 4-year university. And basically, it's money that the government is giving to you to go to school, and they give it to you in different forms. They give it to you in grants, which is free money you don't have to pay back. They give it to you in work study, which is basically you probably working a campus job, and instead of the university paying you, the government is going to pay you. So you do have to do work for that money, but it's not coming from your job, which is good for them, which means I put it in quotes, free labor for them, but you're still getting paid through the government. And then the last way is what I want to, again, say last because it should be your last option when it comes to trying to finance your education, which is loans. So with FAFSA, they have two different types of loans. They are the subsidized and the unsubsidized. I always forget which one is which, but one of them you have to pay the interest on the loan as soon as you take out the loan. So once you accept the loan, that's when the interest starts. And then the other type of loan that you can get through FAFSA, the interest doesn't start until you either graduate or you go below a certain number of credits. I think it's either 12 credits, which is usually full-time, or 6 credits, which is considered half-time. So if you go below, it might be 6 credits. It might depend on which loan you take out. But if you go below one of those credit hours per semester, that's when the interest will start to tack on to that loan. So as long as you're taking over 6 or 12 credits and you have not graduated yet, the interest for that loan does not start, but it will start as soon as you do. So about FAFSA and who should submit FAFSA. Anybody who's going to college, no matter what age you start, no matter what job you have, no matter what your background is, should be filling out FAFSA. Because the worst thing they can do is not give you money. It's not costing you any money to apply for it. It only costs you time to fill it out, which if the first time might take you the longest to fill it out because you have to put in all the information. But every year after that, it should be a little bit easier because some of the application is saved that information, so you don't have to keep repeating or keep putting it in every year. But you should definitely be filling out no matter what your background is. Because there are a variety of situations that they consider when making the decision on how much money they will give you. Again, just because the decision they might only give you loans or might give you more loans than grants doesn't mean you have to accept it. It's just the money that they're offering you to get your education. So definitely fill it out. And then the last reason to definitely fill it out is some institutions may have their own need-based aid, but you will have to fill out FAFSA in order for them to consider you for those grants or need-based aid. Again, those are from the institution, but they go off the information that you put in FAFSA. So you should definitely fill out FAFSA if for anything for that, because even if the government doesn't give you any money, doesn't mean your school won't give you money based off that same information. So definitely fill it out. Again, I probably take the most time it will probably take to fill it out is maybe an hour, but if you fill it out every year, it'll probably take maybe 15 to 30 minutes to fill it out. There was one more thing I wanted to say about FAFSA. I think I said it. The worst thing you could do is not get any money from FAFSA. So definitely fill it out. Oh, I did want to say, FAFSA start the application for the new school year I believe you can start filling out the application in either September or October of the prior year. So this year is 2021. So you will start filling out FAFSA for the fall of 2022 in either September of October of this year. So be on the lookout. Your school should be having like advertisements and that kind of thing about FAFSA. They should even give you free help when it comes to filling out FAFSA. So definitely be on the lookout for that stuff as the school year starts around, like I said, like around September or October. So let's move on to myth number 3. If I haven't heard of a college or university, it can't be very good. Now, when it comes to higher education or four-year university or in community college, the thing that is the most important is probably the accreditation that the school gets. Basically, accreditation is recognition from a accrediting agency that an institution maintains a certain level of educational standards. So the biggest thing is making sure that your school have some sort of accreditation, and you should be able to find that on their website. If you can't find it on their website, you should be able to call their student, what do you call it? Not financial aid, student services, some type of student services. You should be able to get someone who knows the accreditation for that school. And I believe they have to get recertified every certain a number of years. So in order for them to be recognized as a higher up education, they have to have a certain accreditation. Another thing, there are thousands of colleges and universities in the U.S. alone. So there's really no way of you knowing all of them. And just because it's a Big Ten school or it's a well-known school doesn't mean it's the best choice for you. They might not even have the major that you're interested in or the degree program that you're interested in. And if you go to a school that doesn't have that, then you're basically going to be wasting a lot of time and a lot of money going to a school that you can't receive the skills that you need in order to be successful in what you want to be successful in. So definitely look at more than just schools that you heard of when it comes to choosing a college or university. And then one of the biggest takeaways I think you should get from college, again, this is in my opinion, is the connections you make with the people. That's including other students, that's including your professors, that's including other faculty members. Those connections are what are probably the most important when it comes to finding a career once you graduate. Because of course the degree is important because that's the reason why you're going to college. But in order to find a career that you really feel comfortable and happy in, having those connections, having those people that can vouch for you, having those people who can make connections for you, is also very important when it comes to your college experience and going to college. So just because you haven't heard of college doesn't mean you can't be successful after you graduate. It's more about what you put in than what the name of the school is. So definitely look at other schools outside of the ones you may have heard of because a famous person went there or because they are a prestigious university or something like that. Moving on to myth number 4, cost and value are the same. So just because an institution costs more money to attend doesn't mean it's going to return the greatest ROI or return on your investment. So I talked a little bit about this earlier. Going to college, the main thing is getting a return on your investment. Your investment is the cost of the tuition that you have to pay in order to go there. And the return on that is the career path you choose because of the skills you learn and the people you're connected with after you graduate from that institution. So if you feel like you're not going to make more money after you graduate than you put in to go to that institution, then that value for that institution is not great. But if it is great, I mean, the money that you're making out once you graduate is higher than the amount of money that you put in to go to that institution. So that should be your way of measuring if the value is worth the cost. Other factors you should definitely be including when you're thinking about what school to go to is the quality of life while you're there, extracurricular opportunities, and then academic offerings. So I talked about if they have the major that you want to get your degree in. That should be probably number one. Do they have other extracurricular activities that you want to get involved in, like sports? Like if you was on the football team in your high school and you want to continue playing football while you're in college, but a school that you're interested in doesn't have football as a sport, then that might not be a school that you want to attend. So just because it costs more doesn't mean it is valuable to you. And then lastly, never discount community college, trade school, and vocational schools. Just because those schools are not advertised as much or they don't cost as much doesn't mean their value is down either. Because like I said, I got my associate's degree and my current job that I have right now, the highest degree that you needed in order to get that job, which is a well-paying job, is an associate's degree. And I actually think some people got it based off their experience, but the most they were looking for was associate's degree, and I got it while I'm still working towards my bachelor's degree. So just because, again, it's a community college doesn't mean the value of it is low. The cost is definitely going to be lower, but the value can definitely be higher for you if you attend and put in the work behind attending college. And I'm not just talking about work as in the classroom, but work outside the classroom. What are you getting involved in? Who are you, again, making connections with, and that kind of thing. So that is how you really value your education and not just the cost of going to that institution. So talking more about community college, myth number 5, community college is lesser than a traditional college. So the biggest difference in most community colleges only offer up to associate's degree. So they might have certificates and that kind of thing, but the most they will probably offer is associate's degree, while most traditional schools or 4-year universities, they can offer up to a PhD. And of course, PhD seems like it's more, it's a higher degree. It's more time in school. And that's why they're offered at traditional universities. Another thing, community colleges are usually much cheaper than traditional college for some of the same courses you will have to take. So you might have to take a psychology course or a lower level math course, and you can take it at your community college and have it transfer over to the four-year university you want to attend, and have taken it in for a lot less money in a probably smaller classroom where you're getting more attention. So just because it's a community college doesn't mean it's less value or lesser than a traditional college. In some aspects, it's actually better because of the cost and the class sizes, in being able to transfer it over to a 4-year university so you can continue your education. And then at a community college, you can still make those same connections to help you start a great career after you graduate. Either start a great career or move on to a great university after you graduate. So don't discount going to community college first. Like I said, I eventually end up going to a community college to get my associate's degree, and I would definitely do it different if I could redo it, going to community college first to get my associate's degree, and then looking for a career. If I can't find a career that I wanted, I can continue on to a 4-year university, probably for less money. I probably can have more scholarship opportunities and that kind of thing. So just because it's a community college doesn't mean it's any less value valuable than a traditional college. Going on to myth number 6, most students graduate in 4 years. Now, I am a true testament to this because I've been in college for more than 4 years. I'm not going to say how many years, but it's definitely been more than 4. And I have experiences and I have had internships and co-ops that once I do graduate, I will still be able to get a job that I want to get and not just a job because that's the only thing that's available. I do also want to say, especially in the STEM field, which what I am in, a lot of students might have to take extra prerequisite classes because of whatever reason. They might not have done well on an entrance exam, or their high school didn't offer a course that they needed in order to take like a calculus class. So they have to take a prerequisite in order to get into that calculus class, which can add more time onto your degree, which again is not a bad thing. It's just something that might happen, and you can definitely still be successful while you're in college after you graduate, no matter how many years it takes you to get your degree. And then another reason why you might take more than 4 years, you might end up switching your major. You might find something else that you want to do, that you thought you wanted to major in something when you graduated high school, but as you got into college, you realize that's not something that you want to do once you graduate college. So that might be a reason. Some people might double major, so they get 2 degrees. And then some people might even get a minor, and all of those things, again, adds time to your graduation, again, which is not a bad thing. Some students, including myself, get co-ops. They might take less credit hours per semester or even take time off of school, again, which all adds time to your graduation. I have done all 3 of them. I have co-ops during the school year, which I was taking either one class or no classes. I have taken semesters where I have been less than full time as far as how many credits I was taking. And then, like I said, before I got my associate's degree, I ended up taking a year off of school. All of these things add up to my time of getting my bachelor's degree. But again, like I said, because of my experiences, I definitely feel comfortable enough when I do graduate, I will be able to get a job, a career that I am proud of once I graduate. And I do want to let you guys know, it's not a sign of failure or that you're less smart than someone just because it took you more than 4 years to graduate. There are some degree programs that you can graduate in 4 years because the amount of credits is required to get your degree is less than the amount of credits that you need in require for you to graduate at that school, if that makes any sense. So you could have a degree program that you need maybe 100 credits for you to get that degree. But in order for you to graduate at that school, you need like 100 and maybe 124 credits, which means 24 of those credits will be outside of your degree program, but you need the 124 because of the accreditation. You would need to take those extra 24 credits so you can actually graduate from that school. So like some programs are like that where you don't have to. And there are other programs like the program I'm in where you have to take the amount of credits you need in order to get that degree it will be more than amount of credits you need in order to graduate from that particular school. So it really depends on what program you're in. Again, other factors I already talked about would help determine how many years it take you to graduate. But just because it takes you more than 4 years doesn't make you any less smarter or any less valuable than someone who took 4 years. Moving on to myth number 7. Majors set your future. So the major you select will help you determine career opportunities after you graduate, but that doesn't mean you have to stay at that career path. There are some people who actually get a degree and never work in the field that they got the degree in. And some reasons for that is because they might have gotten so close to the degree that they didn't want to start over because it would add too much time to their degree program, in which they didn't want to do, but they found something that they were interested in, so they got the degree because they worked so hard for it. But they also made connections while they were getting their degree, and they were able to pivot to a different career path because of those connections that they had. Your major doesn't mean that that's the only field you can get a career in, especially if you grow and continue to learn. So let's say you did get a degree in something and you started working within your degree field or your degree industry, but you see that you're interested in something outside of your degree, outside of your program, outside of your industry. If you continue to learn, which you should do, just because you graduated college doesn't mean you should stop learning. But when you graduate and you continue to learn, you should definitely continue to also make connections, which can help you pivot to other career paths outside of whatever career that you thought you wanted to get into when you were in college. And a lot of people think, especially maybe older people, might feel different because a lot of them, once they got their degree, they stuck with the same career path, stuck with the same industry, even stuck with the same company for 35, 40 years, and they're retiring at the same company. While in this generation, there are more people who are interested in trying new things throughout their lifetime and moving, instead of just up and down, but moving left and right within their career, which is all good things. As long as you're bringing happiness to yourself and you're able to live a life that you want to live, then you should continue doing what makes you happy. So don't think whatever major you select means that you have to continue within that field once you graduate. Moving on, myth number 8. A college degree guarantees success. A college degree doesn't guarantee any type of success, especially if it's a major that that's not in big demand. So just because you're going to college, just because you got a college degree, doesn't mean you're going to be better than anybody who doesn't have a college degree. Nowadays, a lot of people, if they learn a valuable skill, they can use their experience in order to get them to a career path or start their own business to help them live a lifestyle that they want to live. So just because you got a degree doesn't mean you're going to be successful. Especially if you only go to class and never join any clubs or take on any leadership roles, it would definitely be harder for you to be successful. Because like I said, going to college is not just about going to class and getting your degree. It's about the connections you make. It's about the experiences you have. It's about the skills that you learn inside of classroom as well as outside the classroom. Because being a student leader, there are a lot of things that you learn that you wouldn't learn if you were just going to class. There are plenty of people in this world who didn't finish or even go to college who are very successful. And at this point, I'm pretty sure anybody who talk about this topic like to talk about people like real rich people that everybody know, like Mark Zuckerberg, the creator of Facebook, or Bill Gates, or somebody like that, which is all true. But there are other people that are regular people that you probably know that didn't go to college or didn't finish college that are still being successful in what they're doing because they continue to learn, they continue to make connections, and they continue to grow as a person. So the real secret to being successful, again, in my opinion, is finding something you love to do and then finding a way you can make a living from it. So if you can do that and live your life and live comfortably, then it doesn't matter if you got a degree or not. Moving on to myth number 9. College prepares you for work. So in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure in a lot of people's opinions, college really prepares you to be a good test taker. If you're in college right now, you probably know that most of your grade in all your courses and most of your courses is from either an exam that you have to take at the end of the semester, which is about the whole class, or maybe a report that you have to do, again, about the whole class, or about all the topics or most of the topics within that class. And that doesn't mean just because you can pass those tests and pass those reports doesn't mean it's preparing you for what's going to come after you graduate. College can potentially prepare you for work or starting your own business, but you have to put in the extra work outside the classroom. So I talked about this a little already with having leadership experience, getting co-ops, getting internships. Those are the real things that help you prepare you for what's going to happen after college. Your college degree is what helps to qualify you for certain positions, but the extra work that you put in is what makes you stand out and makes you have those skills that you need in order to be successful within that career. A lot of things that you learn won't be used in the real world, especially like your gen ed courses. And then when you get into the whatever career, whatever job you get into, they're going to continue to train you on that position because they have specific ways they want that position to be ran. And a lot of those things won't be taught in college. So the main thing I would say when you're in college is to make note of how you learn and make note of what different ways is best for you to learn. So once you are out of college, you should be continuing to learn. But now that you had these 4, 5, 6 years of learning, you understand your best way of learning, your best way of gaining knowledge, your best way of growing. So whatever career path you choose, you can continue to learn in that way. You can continue to grow in that way. And then we move on to myth number 10. Employees only care if you graduate from a top college. There are college recruiters at every career fair hosted by universities looking for students for internships, co-ops, and full-time opportunities. So whatever school you go to, I'm pretty sure they have at least one, maybe 2 career fairs throughout the year. And those recruiters are not just there just to be there, because they have to pay to be there. If they're going to pay to be there, they're going to be there in order to get talent for their company. So just because you go to a school that's not really recognized or you think a lot of people don't know, recruiters know what talent are at that school because they have probably recruited there many years before you even started going there. So if your college have a career fair, which hopefully they do, you would definitely have opportunities to get employed by companies that you want to get employed by. I personally received internships, co-op opportunities from great companies, including Northrop Grumman, Duke Energy, and Rolls-Royce. And I don't go to, or I don't think my school is, or any of the schools I've been to have been in the top 10 of any list out there when it comes to the program that I'm in. But just because of that doesn't mean I couldn't get a career that I want to get once I graduate, or get an internship while I'm still in school, or co-op while I'm still in school. Employers are looking for great candidates no matter where you're coming from. So employers don't care what school you go to. They don't care. Well, they do care what degree you're getting, because that's going to let them know what kind of knowledge you're learning. But they're looking for, and you probably hear this a lot, a well-rounded student. So people who not only good in the classroom, but again, they have the experience of being a leader within the organization. They have co-ops or internships. So those are kind of things that they're looking for. And a great way to get those opportunities from even more companies is being a part of professional organizations within your school. Now, I'm going to talk about this organization a lot throughout my podcast because I am a huge supporter and I love this organization, which is NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers. NSBE have 2 career fairs at 2 conferences every year. And no matter what school you go to, you can go to those career fairs if you're a part of NSBE, and they have a lot of different companies that a lot of schools might not have opportunities to have at their career fairs, maybe because of where they are in the country and that kind of thing. But being a part of a professional organization like NSBE, I have been able to get in contact with large companies like the ones I talked about, but also with companies like Google, with companies like Facebook, with companies like Amazon, companies like Netflix. All these companies come to professional organization career fairs. So if you're in journalism, you're going to school to be a journalist, I'm pretty sure there's a professional organization for that. If you are trying to be a teacher, there are professional organizations for that. If you are whatever program you're trying to be in, there's probably a professional organization you can join as a college student to help you get in contact with other companies that might not come to your school. So definitely be looking for those organizations. And if they're not already at your school, I'm pretty sure at your school you can start an organization. Like if NSBE is a professional organization, and if it wasn't at my school, I can start a chapter at my school. So if you're looking for a professional organization that's not at your school, definitely look up, do research on professional organizations within your field, and see if there's a way you can start a chapter at your school so you can get access to those different resources like career fairs and employers that you're interested in. So those are my 10 myths that I want to talk about. But if you are still with me, I want to give you one more. I want to give you one bonus myth to help you decide if you want to continue this path or go to college, which is your GPA is a measure of how brilliant you are. That's the myth. Your GPA shows you how well you perform in the classroom setting. It doesn't tell you how smart you are. It doesn't tell you all the skills that you know. It doesn't tell you all the experiences that you had. GPA is only a measure of how well you can do within the classroom setting. So just because you are not the perfect student, just because you are not a straight A student, doesn't mean you're not smart. It doesn't show other aspects of a person's ability or knowledge. It shows just what you know about that class based off that professor. That's basically what your GPA is. I'm not saying you shouldn't be striving to have a high GPA, but you shouldn't feel down on yourself if you don't have the best GPA. You should definitely try to get other experiences that can balance out not having the best GPA. Like I said, my GPA is not the best. But again, I've been able to get get experiences like internships and co-ops and leadership experiences because of other things I do outside the classroom. And then it's important when it comes to getting your degree and starting a career you like, but it's not the only factor. Remember that your GPA is only one factor when it comes to you being able to get into a career that you want to get into, or even starting your own business. Your GPA means nothing if you want to start your own business. But if you want to go work for someone, which is not a bad thing, if you want to go start a career at a company that you're really interested in, GPA is an important thing, but it's not the only important thing. Remember that. But those are all my myths that I want to talk about today. I hope you learned something from them. But a little bit of advice before I let you go. First, take everything I say within this episode, within this season, within this podcast with a grain of salt. These are my experiences, which might not equal to your experiences. So I want you to take this, do your own research, learn from your own experiences, but you can definitely take what I've learned, take what I've been through to help you get to where you want to go. Like I said, do your own research, ask as many people as you know for advice and guidance. Again, take everything you learn from anybody with a grain of salt, because just because it worked out for them in a certain way doesn't mean it's going to work out for you in that same way. But you should definitely take their advice and try to do what they tell you to do as much as possible to help you be successful in what you want to be successful in. Lastly, understand college is an investment. you definitely want to gather all the information you can before you decide on if you want to go to a higher education institution or not. And if you don't, the thing is, if you don't know what you want to go to school for, you shouldn't definitely go to you definitely shouldn't start off at a 4-year university. You don't want to waste time. You don't want to waste your money at a 4-year university just because someone told you to go there. So if you don't know what you want to go to, but you do want to go to college, start off at a community college. Start off taking just a few courses. You don't have to take 12 credits. You can take 3 or 6 credits. A lot of classes go off 3 credits. Sometimes they might take 2 or there might be 1, but a lot of classes they are like 3 credits per class. But take 1 or 2 courses to see if you're interested in the subject. If you're not, then you didn't waste a lot of time. You didn't waste a lot of money. You might even be able to get a certificate with certain courses that can go towards an associate's or a bachelor's degree. So maybe start off on that path. But definitely, if you're planning on going to college, understand it is an investment and you should be trying to get a return on that investment once you graduate. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Lazenby Experience podcast. I really hope you learn something from it or at least enjoy listening to it. If you have questions about anything that I talked about today or have any questions about anything I didn't talk about today, you can email me at lazenbyexperience@gmail.com. That's LAZENBY experience@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to follow, like, share, and subscribe on all the platforms. That's including YouTube, that's including Facebook, that's including Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you like to listen to your podcast. You can also read my blog posts that I'll be posting about each episode. You can find those on lazenbyexperience.wordpress.com. So if you like to read or if you don't have time to listen, but you still want to go over what I talk about within each episode, you can go to my blog, which will have the content as well. So until next time, continue your journey until you reach your success. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Lazenby Experience podcast. I hope you're able to get something out of it to help you with your success. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, like, share, and subscribe on all platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, and Apple Podcasts at the Lazenby Experience. Have questions about this episode or have topics you would like me to cover in the future? Send me an email at lazenbyexperience@gmail.com. That's LAZENBY experience@gmail.com. Lastly, I would like to give a huge shout out to Jamari Michael of Indigo Entertainment Group for the instrumentals you heard throughout this episode. Again, thank you for listening to the Lazenby Experience podcast, and until next time, continue your journey until you reach your success.